Welcome. I'm Cary Rajinder, the director of the London Indian Film Festival, and we're very proud to be here for this very special tribute to Shyam Benegal, supported by Baithak UK, who are our great partners for this festival and for this Facebook Live event. And welcome to everybody around the world who's joined us and people that are coming. We've got a great list of speakers today and very excited to have so many people. I think we've got about 15 guests, so we're going to have to crack through them. I should just say that our festival starts on the 26th of June in London, Birmingham, Manchester, Leeds, Bradford, and Liverpool also. And it is Europe's biggest South Asian film event. We are very pleased to have this special event for Shyam Benegal, marking his many years of championing both Indian cinema and just being one of the greatest filmmakers and obviously a great legend of the parallel and new wave cinema. As a student of cinema myself, as a young programmer, I of course saw films like Ankur and Nishant, Manthan and Bhumika, Junoon, etc. And they were very championed in the UK by great critics and programmers like Derek Malcolm, who's obviously a great legend from the past. My entry to Shyam's work was through the films. When I started programming films, were films like Sardari Begum in 1996, Making of the Mahatma, and Reggie Kapoor will be here as one of the special guests. Right through to Haribari, Zubeidaa, which was shown at the BFI London Film Festival, and Welcome to Sajjanpur were just a few of the films that I remember being fortunate enough or blessed to program and show to the wider world. So obviously we've got, just last year we had Shyam's latest film, Mujib, Making of a Nation. So Shyam's very much a dynamic filmmaker, still making some amazing works. And so I think that's part of what we're here to celebrate, this ongoing legacy of production and somebody who really changed the landscape of Indian cinema, but affected the whole world in terms of his vision and humanity. I think it's one of the great things that comes through Shyam's work is that sense of humanity, whether it's for making people aware of the rights of women, farmers, around caste, disability, struggles of village, religious divides, sexuality even. He's also been a champion in Indian Parliament for many of these human rights issues. And obviously, we've got some great speakers here, for example, like Shaban Azmi today, who are involved with many of his unique stories about women. And Shyam is also described often as a filmmaker who has a female sensibility, which comes across in his many films about women. So we would also, at the London Indian Film Festival, like to award Shyam our Icon Award, which is our highest trophy, and we'll be sending that to Shyam in the next couple of days. That's our finest accolade that we can offer. Obviously, he's had many, many awards across India, etc., so and internationally. So without further ado, I'll invite Sangeeta Datta from Baithak UK to say a few words.
Hello and welcome everybody. My name is Sangeeta Datta. I'm artistic director of the cross arts company Baithak UK. And we've been partnering with Cary and Cary's festival, the London Indian Film Festival, for many years now. I can't say how delighted I am that we've actually got this event together and we have Shyam Babu in the house, in the green room, and so many of his cast and crew and fellow contemporaries, all esteemed people in their own fields who will be talking today. And the fact that we've been waiting for many weeks, trying to get a date, trying to get a time, and we've now got about 16 speakers who are going to talk about Shyam Babu today. So welcome everybody. And there are just one or two things to say. That it's when we were planning this for the 29th of May, we really weren't aware how exciting it was all going to be in Cannes with the restored version of Manthan, with Nasir Saab there, and everything that went around it. So Manthan and Shyam's films are being talked about globally again, as they used to be when they were made in the 70s. And I do want to mark the fact that, I sometimes feel so grateful that we were children of the 70s, where we grew up with these films. Our idea about life, our leftist ideas about life, our critical way of looking at society, had a lot to do with the way we were shaped through Shambabu's films. So seeing Ankur, Nishant, Manthan, and these films when we were teenagers had a great, great impact on our lives. So that was fantastic. It was also superb to know Shambabu personally when I moved to Bombay and I lived there for many years and worked and taught at Xavier's. I remember writing a big article on Suraj Ka Satwa Ghora, a film which I absolutely love. And that's the time that both Shambabu and Anil Dharkar were there together. And we had a presentation. We were all part of the Film Society movement. So there were so many things which were really bringing us together. And this belief in cinema as a medium of change, as a social commentary tool, all of these things were deeply embedded from early years. So, heartiest and warmest welcome to Shambabu. Thank you for being here, and thank you to all of you. I'd like to now invite Shambabu on screen and ask him to say a few words at the outset.
I'm absolutely flattered by this, this event that you organized, and I'm looking forward to it, of course. But more than anything else, I'm not quite sure whether I deserve it. But nevertheless, but I'm certainly going to enjoy it a lot. Thank you.
Thank you, Shambabu. Tell us something about Ankur. It's 50 years of Ankur. Tell us a little story.
Well, it's actually 51 years because it was made in 1973. And that was a story that I had in my head for a very long time, from the time I was actually in college. And I'd worked on it over and over again and thinking that I'll make this film and probably be my first film and so on, and which eventually it turned out to be. But you see, the important thing about that film was that everybody who was connected with it was making the film for the first time, for making a film for the first time. I mean, just not me, the director and the writer and so on and so forth, but everybody connected with the film. For them, it was all everybody, it was the first film. And except for the cameraman, and even the cameraman, actually, when you think of it, Govind, now, see, Govind Nehrani also, for him, even that was actually his first feature film. So in many ways, it was a first film for a lot of people connected with that film. So that's why, to me, it's an important film for that reason alone. Not necessarily because it's a particularly good film. Because now I can, when I look back at it, I don't really want to, you can become very critical or uncritical or whatever. But the fact is that, I don't see my films once I've made them. And I haven't seen Ankur, goodness knows how, when I last saw it. But anyway, but it's there. So whether I like it or not, it's a film with which I was, deeply involved in, and it continues to be there, flaws and all, So there it is.
Can we invite Shabana to say a few words about her long association with Shambabu?
Yes, it is my absolute pleasure. And in his introductory remarks, Shyam was so typically Shyam, absolutely modest and saying, I really don't know whether I deserve this. Of course, he deserves it and many, many more such accolades because his body of work has been so important in the face of cinema. But the amazing thing about Shyam is that he wears his fame very lightly. He isn't impressed with his own myth. And I think that's what keeps him going. He's completely receptive to people he cares for and he respects for them to make critical remarks. I've seen lots of very big people who, when it comes to listening to anything that is critical, really get very defensive. Sham has never done that. I would like to say that I would not be the person that I am and the actress that I am today if it were not for Shyam Benegal. He has shaped my life, and I really consider him my guru. He doesn't want to be called a guru, he wants to be called a friend. So I say my reluctant guru. But the fact is, the way I look at the world is also shaped by Shyam. Because I remember the first time we went to Berlin together, I was so excited to see that the city looked like something that I'd seen in the movies. And I just wanted to rush to the shopping malls. And here was Shyam in the taxi with me, talking to the driver about the gardens in Berlin, about the history of Berlin. And I said, my God, this is a completely different way of looking at a city. That stayed with me forever. Then I remember even when we went for a festival, and we went to several, he would sit down in the morning with us and then say, this is the film we should see, this is the filmmaker that we should see. And he worked it all out with the diligence of a master teaching his students, even though he wasn't even aware of it. I think to say that Shyam Benegal is one of our finest filmmakers is really an understatement, because with Shyam's work, the parallel cinema found its roots in Hindi cinema. Of course, there was Satyajit Ray, there was Mrinal Sen, but they were all within the Bengali cinema. Shyam Benegal and his film, which paved the way for so many more films to come. I've also found Sham a very generous human being. He's always been extremely kind with younger filmmakers who would like to come and get his advice on this, that, and the other. And that's because he's a very, very special human being. I consider myself very lucky to have started my career with him. Thank you, Shamu. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being the person that you are. They say about actors, they say, we need more women in cinema, writers. But I don't think that's really important. I think the gaze is important, much more than the gender of the director. And Shyam has the female gaze. He keeps keeps showing us the many complexes of what it is to be a woman. And were it not for Benegal and his films, we really would not have been able to see them so early in the day. Even now, Hindi mainstream cinema is struggling with the identity of a woman in all her complexity. I consider myself truly, truly blessed.
Thank you, Shabana. Thank you so much.
We're just waiting for Adur Gopalakrishnan to join us, and also Beena Venugopal from the IFF, formerly of the IFFK. Adorji.
Hello.
And there's Beena.
Hi, sir.
Thank you for joining us. You're both in Kerala, is that correct, in South India?
Well, yes, not physically, but from.
Adur is definitely in Trivandrum. So
Yeah.
we just, obviously Shyam's here with us, which is fantastic. I would love to hear about your stories, particularly, for example, Adur, your rememberings of Shyam's films and your experiences of working with him, alongside him rather, as part of the Indian New Wave. And what were some of the things that you thought of Shyam's films, in terms of what some of the positive aspects you saw of Shyam's films that you thought were important to highlight today?
Well, thank you for asking me. Actually, I'm a great admirer of Shyam as a filmmaker and as a human being, and as a senior colleague. In several ways, I am an admirer. I was thinking about Shyam, generally what to talk about, but actually, he belongs to a very special league of filmmakers, of Indian filmmakers, top ranking filmmakers. To make it very short, it can be Ray, Manalsan, and Shyamji, because they all made, they were making films all through their life, from the time they started making films. That is. So 74 onwards, now it is 50 years in Shyam's case. I have also started making, long back in 1972, I made my first film. But I made very few films. So I always joke, with people that most of the time I have not been making films. so, so that's a different league. Once I even asked Shyam, why do you make too many films? Then he said, I have to, because this is I take it as my profession. But I look at myself, I said, you are not a professional, I tell myself. Because really, I forget about being a filmmaker most of the time. So these are, while I am a great admirer of his, I feel that I am, in some way, I am sitting, seeing myself in the other direction. But working with him, again, it has been a pleasure. We have been on several committees, national committees. I remember the first one was the one under the chairmanship of Dr. Karant. That was called a film study group. So Manalda was there, Shyam was there. So it was a great time for me to learn about many things, to know things. And I was again, from that time, I was very impressed by the way he is involved. Shyam is particularly involved in everything he does. Everything is done so thoroughly, you know, and the kind of interest he shows in reading. These are things that I admire in others. When I find somebody who is well read, I have great respect for just for that, because he is suddenly you mark yourself out from others as someone who is very much interested in about so many things at the same time. So Shyam's area of interest is so large, but at the same time, when he works on a project, on something like the responsibility of doing a report on something, particularly about films, I used to be surprised at the dexterity of the whole thing, at the devotion, given to the whole thing. So finally, he kind of uh, speaks out his report, and somebody writes down, and that process is so fantastic to watch. If you look at only one report, to my knowledge, went without being seen by anyone, without being discussed. That was the report he made on censoring. We all were expecting the great results from that report. Unfortunately, the people at the center, they did not care to. People who really requested him to make this report, they were not uh, very much interested in even looking at the report. This is what happened. So this can happen. When somebody has invested so much time and their experience in it, you kind of discard it very easily. That's not in very good taste, even when it comes from very top people. So I had this great experience working with him, always. So I look, when I make a film, in fact, he's is he is one person from whom I want to know, the opinion about the film that I have made. So I value it a lot. In fact, there have been two others who have been Ray and Sen. The third person is Shyam. So I value it, and fortunately for me, they have been very generous, very generous with me, very generous, I must say. So that gives me a lot of courage, a lot of strength to go on. Even with long gaps between, that becomes a great inspiration. So he has been singularly engaged in making films, not just feature films. I was thoroughly impressed by the film, The Making of Mahatma, and another film, Manthan. Uh, Manthan could have been a very, very propaganda type of film, but then he made a great film out of that subject, having every known actor acting in it, and making a remarkable work, So same with making of the Mahatma. Making of Mahatma is such a remarkable work. So I think the very last one he did is Mujibur Rahman, Mujibur, the making of Bangladesh. Unfortunately, I couldn't see it yet. But I'm sure it must be really, really worthwhile to have a film made by him on Mujibur Rahman. It's a tribute to Bangladesh and their freedom struggle. It's remarkable that only one filmmaker I can think of doing that is Shyam. So he has done it. It's remarkable. Yes. And he has made a film on both. Again, I could not see that film, The Forgotten Hero. So one film on, again, one of the remarkable work he did was the film on Nehru's discovery of India. So that came as a serial on Doordarshan. So you look at these things, the amount of the kind of energy that gets concentrated in these films is remarkable. Whether it is feature, and Sam is somebody who is self-taught. Self-taught is not a very good term, but then he is the one who started making short films, very very 50-second films, ad films. I'm told he has made as many as 900 of the short films, ad films. That's great learning. What more do you want? In terms of making films, it is learning and it is reassuring. Ad film is a great test, in fact, of somebody's ability to say things in the most powerful way. That's a testing ground, really. So he has passed through all that very successfully. And naturally, and I also happened to be on the jury, national jury, when Ankur was in the competition. So I loved it a lot. And I loved the performances and everything in the film. So, to be noticed by the first film is very important. Otherwise, your struggle becomes longer. So he has been adulated right from the beginning. So his journey has been very, I would say, smooth. It may have other problems, but then journey has been really commendable. Very few filmmakers can look back and look at this hoover of work. You know, what kind of the variety of film subjects, periods, the preoccupations, everything is so different from one film to the other. So there's a definite growth, that we see of the artist, of the themes, of the presentations. So for Indian cinema, the new generation has to learn a lot. They have a lot to learn from here.
Thank you so much, Adur. Dina, I just wanted to just ask you about how you came to Shyam's films as a programmer, festival director, or former director of the IFFK, and also as an editor as well.
Well, first of all, congratulations, Shyamji. It's so wonderful to have this event because, as Sangeeta said, we all grew up in 70s Delhi and India, and it was a time where the only options we were having to see were films like all these big Bollywood films. And I must say, the year that you made Ankur was the year that Bobby was released, the year that Zanjeer came up when Amitabh Bachchan was first introduced. So you were really swimming against the swimming against the tide. And I think that was where we started looking to you as a great example of what cinema can do and what needs to be done with cinema, really. And I just look at your work, your amazing work, as a kind of chronicle of our time, a chronicle of this country, actually. Whether, right to the end when you've done the whole thing on the Constitution, starting with Ankur, going on to Nishant, Zubeidaa, the whole discovery of the woman's voice, the feminist voice almost, or, against the patriarchy of cinema when you made these films. So when I see somebody like Payal standing at Cannes and winning this award, I just think, yeah, we stand on the shoulders of filmmakers like you who actually, this whole business of what is a documentary, what is a feature film, all your films have sort of straddled this kind of between fiction, reality, opinion, politics. So I would just say thank you so much. And as a programmer, one always looked forward to your work. One always knew that whatever you did had sort of value beyond just a good film, but also a good example of what was happening around. So thank you so much. And I know you're going to be listening to 1.5 hours of lots of good things about you. But it's really been, I mean, as a film student, when I first went to the Film Institute, actually, I saw Ankur. And I remember thinking that, in Kerala, while Adur sir and Arvindan and John and all these people were making their films, they had a kind of almost, I mean, it wasn't easy, it was always a struggle, but they had the film society movement, etc., to stand on and were able to therefore reach audiences better. But you were sort of fighting a very large battle. And I must say that that was something I really admired, that to make an Ankur when Bobby was being released was, for me, my God, yeah. So thank you for all that you've done for Indian cinema, for all of us to understand our country, actually. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Adur, Gopalakrishnan, and Binapur. And now we're moving on to Sangeeta, who's going to be talking on to our next range of speakers. Thank you so much.
Hi, Rajit.
Hi.
Yeah, I was just talking about Suraj Ka Satwa Ghora, and Adur Sar was also talking about making of Mahatma. So tell us about your experience.
I have to repeat a couple of things what Shabana said. I am blessed. I am honored and privileged and humbled that I began my film career with Shyam Babu, with Suraj Ka Satwa Ghoda. And I consider myself even more blessed that I have been part of all his 18, 19 projects since Suraj Ka Satwa Ghoda. And I'm very proud to wear that as a badge. Whatever you may call it. Now, of course, if he does anything without me, I'd be rather upset. It almost happened once, I think, in Welcome to Sajjanpur. And he said, Rajat, there's really nothing in it for you. There's this role of a clerk, so I can get anyone to do it. I said, nothing doing. I'm coming. And the next day, I was in Ramoji Film City in Hyderabad, there just playing this clerk for one scene. And that day I told him, it doesn't matter. I will become a tree and stand in your film. I have to be part of your projects. He's very sensitive. He loves actors, very sensitive to actors, and he gets excited like a child when he sees an actor contributing to what has been written and what he's thought of and conceived as a scene. I don't think there are very many filmmakers who are actually quite careful and particular about clarity in speech, for actors. He's one of those few. And as mentioned, if you really put his films together, the rich tapestry of the social, economic, political background of these personalized journeys or stories, these double layers are amazing, representing such a wide spectrum of the history of our country. It's like a historical encyclopedia. He's a great foodie. He introduced me to Japanese food, and I'm eternally grateful. And after that, I just love having my sushi. Yeah, I mean, the epitome of humility. That's something I've tried to imbibe from him. There's so much he's taught me about life itself, what he's exposed me to through the wide variety of the characters that he's allowed me to play, and trusted me with, the kind of range of characters I've played is because of him. I was allowed as an actor to open myself up because of the diversity of roles that he offered me. And my God, thank you. I salute you, and I'm very, very proud to be part of all your projects so far. And now you just can't do one without me anymore. Let me make that very clear on this platform. And thank you, sir. I salute you for choosing me.
Is Nandita Das here? There. Hi, Nandita.
I was listening to everyone and I was kind of tearing up and smiling and saying ditto, ditto, ditto in my head. And I thought, what else can I say about this phenomenal person who has, not only changed the landscape of Indian cinema, has not only, educated us in so many ways to just become better human beings, to become more engaged, but also every life that he has personally touched, I think, has been impacted. All of us speak not just of this great filmmaker, but also of this great person. He's a teacher who is never teaching. So, one is always like a bit of an eklavya, where you're just learning by just being around him, whether you meet him at an event, whether, you're on a shoot, of course, but every place it is in his being. There is truth, there is honesty, there is humility, there is desire to engage, to change things without being, didactic or without making a big deal. And as Shabana said, he wears his, persona of fame so lightly. And as Beena and Rajit and everyone has, I just, like I said, I just want to say ditto, ditto, ditto. Personally, I just want to share a personal story, because everything that everyone has said is true and more. But I had the good fortune of only doing, unfortunately, one film. Shyam Babu has not been as kind to me as he's been to some of the other actors. And he's given birth to actually so many amazing actors. So we have to thank him for that as well. But I did Hari Bhari with him. And I remember being at his office and he asked me to do this character who is religious, bigoted, selfish, money-minded. And I sat across from him and said, Shyam Babu, I'm not like that. Why did you choose me for this kind of a role? And he said, an actor is not just an extension of the person. Stop your activism. And, this is going to be an opportunity to play a character, somebody who's different from you. And initially, I disliked my character. And through that journey, I learned to embrace. And that's what he taught me, and he taught me as an actor, you are in the service of the film, of the story. It is not the role that you play, but what is the film trying to say? If you resonate with that, that is, that's how you choose your cinema. And I was like, I'd just done 3-4 films before that. This was 1998. And I knew him before and I've of course known him after, but that was my little brush of working with him and how he got these 5 women together and we were performing, and Rajit played my husband, and Rajit, now I got to know how you ghusawed yourself in this. But Shyam Babu, really, you have impacted all of us in such a deep manner. I remember after Manto, you called me from the theater and said all those wonderful things. I can't tell you, there can be nothing more encouraging for me. So I'm just very grateful that for all the work that you've done, for the person you are, and for the inspiration that you give every single person who comes into your ambit, whether as an audience, whether as an actor, whether as crew, whether as friends, and your laughter and your joy. And you've done all of this through joy and not through this seriousness and anger of changing the world, but actually realizing that we are all a drop in the ocean. You are a huge, big drop, and some of us are like very tiny, but that sense of humility that you have taught us, so very, very grateful. And may you do lots and lots of work. And apart from work, may you just keep spreading what you believe in, that you so naturally do. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity, Sangeeta and Cary, and for doing this. This is so special.
I'm just trying to check if Shama Zaidi is in the studio. Can we invite Shama now to come and speak?
Hello.
Hi, Shama.
Hello, Shyam. Well, there's a small secret, you know. The reason I met Shyam is because his wife is a childhood friend. And one day we had made Garm Hawa and already all that, and he had made Ankur, and he said, I'm making this small series for children for UNICEF on aspects like numbers and color and all. And he used the folk actors of Habib Tanveer. And that was great fun because these actors, they never memorized anything. They would just ad lib whenever they felt like it, which made Govind very angry, you know, because he couldn't deal with that. But Shyam had a ball with all these, you know, improvising actors who were improvising things. Then we did Charandas Chor, in which Smita was introduced. So that was how we started out. And then I was just reading this morning that before coming to Ankur, Shyam had made about 50 short films, documentaries, and hundreds of ad films. So he learned the art of being concise. And I don't think any of his films has got extra flap except two documentaries, one on Bose and one on Mujib, where we had so much material that we didn't know what to do, and those films became inordinately long. So I think making biographies is very difficult to put. The third biography was about Gandhi and in South Africa, but that was limited to a particular period in his life. So there was not much chance of going here and there and everywhere. And here and there and everywhere is a very favorite thing of Shyam's expression. He says, what is this? Your script is going everywhere, here, there, everywhere. Why don't you put it properly in order? So then you not have to go back. So the writing of a script for each subject was a totally different exercise. It was never the same. Like for Suraj Ka Satwan Ghoda, there was no second draft. The first draft was the final. But for Bose, we wrote 18 drafts for the film. So it goes on, mostly we have to rewrite and rewrite and rewrite. It comes like that. So then the other thing is that going through the list of films, I suddenly realized the variety of the work he's done, you know, from Mandi to you know, serious films on historical figures, to Manthan, which is more serious. But the interesting thing is that all the characters have shades. Except that in a few films there are bad people who don't have any depth. But that's very rare. Everybody has got certain things that help them become people in front of your eyes, you know. So that is what I wanted to say. And another very interesting thing is that Shyam hates violence. So anytime you write a scene where somebody beats up somebody or somebody shoots somebody, he will quietly remove it or show it indirectly, you know, so you can't tell, because he doesn't think that violence is that necessary in a film, you know, where somebody would revel in the idea of showing all that gore and so on, you know. So anyway, it's been a great experience, and his family, so I really can't go beyond that. So that's what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Yes, we'd like to call director Hansal Mehta and also Pan Nalan if he's a bit here. And I think Lalit Mohan Joshi is going to join us as well. Hi, Hansal. I know you're a big Shyam Benegal fan, and could you just tell us a bit about your experiences with Shyam's films and what brought you to his cinema and what makes you so passionate about him?
Well, I think I was around 5 years old when Ankur, 5 or 6 years old when Ankur released. And I used to be taken to the cinema because I used to cry without my parents. And my parents somehow had this thing about not watching, you know, the big commercial films. So they had not watched Bobby or any of the films that the popular films that were released that time. They took me to see Ankur for some reason, and I came back home deeply disturbed. I don't know. I don't think I understood the film, but my parents told me that I came back home very disturbed after watching Ankur. But I think my biggest influence, I mean, when I started understanding a little bit, the film that I've watched and revisited number of times has been Manthan. It has sort of shaped uh, a lot of my approaches as a filmmaker. His work, the dignity with which he presents his characters, the way he observes life, the way he observes social evils, and presents them with this amazing amount of dignity, with almost this serenity and a quietude. There's a it's something that has been a lasting influence through my entire career. The aesthetics have a certain amount of silence, a very a lot of nobility. Even in his evil characters, I find shades of nobility, and I mean, it tells you so much about the filmmaker and how I remember there's a word that Kamal Hassan had used many years back about Shyam Babu. He said he's a gentleman filmmaker, and you can see that in his work. Uh, you know, whether it is the way the Mahabharata was adapted in Kali Yuga, whether it was Junoon, the aesthetics of Trikal. I mean, these films sort of stand the test of time. You see them today. I tell people from my team who have not seen so much of Shyam Babu's earlier works to watch these films and to understand the kind of cinema we grew up getting influenced by, because they don't make people like Shyam Benegal anymore. They don't make filmmakers like him anymore. And those who have not been influenced by his work or have not been exposed to his work, I think are poorer in their in their in their understanding of our cinema, in our understanding of Indian cinema. No, I mean, for me, the new wave and parallel cinema, these are all buzzwords, because by the time I actually got into films, there was nothing, very little left of what they called the parallel cinema movement. For me, this was cinema, and it's had such a lasting influence. I mean, the kind of it's not only the collection of talent that his films always had. Whether it was Vijay Tendulkar, Satyadev Dubey, Govindji as a director of photography, Shama Zaidi. I mean, just the collection of talent. Of course, some of the most defining actors of our times. From Girish Karnad to Nasir Bhai to Shabana ji, to Rajeshwari Sajdev. A whole lot of really fine actors who worked with him. But I think beyond that, the kind of, if you just look at his filmography and the people always associated with his films, you realize that there's a respect for knowledge, for intellect, for sensitivity, and an understanding of the world. And this is something that we as filmmakers need to learn from. I mean, the kind of people you work with define your films. Your company defines your work, and in many ways, Shyam Babu's work has has had that everlasting influence. And I'm just delighted, that I'm here in the UK making a series with Shyam Babu's daughter Pia Benegal who is, this is the second time. I mean, she's doing the costumes for something very ambitious that we are attempting at this moment. And I remember one of the greatest moments of my life was Pia had worked with me on Aligarh previously. She did the costumes for Aligarh, and Shyam Babu had come to watch Aligarh at Regal Cinema, and there's a crowd of people, and he came and said, it's a lovely film. I think for me, the film's journey ended there. To hear that from him, was as a filmmaker, it sort of makes you feel that your journey has met its ultimate validation. And thank you, Shyam Babu, for being who you are, for making the films that you do, and also thank you for Pia.
Thank you very much, Hansel. Pan Nalin. Pan Nalin is also a filmmaker, of course. And Pan, could you just tell us a bit about your fanboy experience of Shyam Benegal, and also your feelings about his work, his films, his aesthetics?
So I have a very personal story to share. I was about 10-year-old or 9 or 10, and I had watched my first movie when I was 7 or 8, in a remote part of Kathiawad in Gujarat. And movies were like Do Lafange, Skala Sona and all that. And one of my classmates said that, my uncle's village, there's a film crew shooting. And I was already mesmerized by cinema. I had no idea what is a film director, how the films are made. I had only watched popular, over-the-top, C-grade cinema, which came to our small town. And he sort of kept bringing news to the school that there is Mr. Shyam Bengali is making a film, So that was the kind of a news. And I said, I need to go there, and my father said, no, we are going to any film people, I will lock you up, you're not going anywhere close to any film people. And I couldn't go. And then a few days later, this boy comes and says, hey, the team is coming to my brother or uncle's wedding, and I said, oh. So Shyam Babu, if you remember, I think you went to Sarpanch's wedding in Sanganwa. And I was born literally, 60 kilometers from there. And I kept hearing this story that, you went to Sarpanch's wedding, gifted them money. The second story as a kid we heard in our class was that, hey, we should go to that shooting because Bharwad community and the shepherds are getting very good pay rather than working in the field, So I remember that, people are going and becoming extra in Manthan, So, and I didn't know the title of the film. I knew nothing, So vague rumors were coming. And as a 10, 11-year-old boy, I had made Manthan in my head that they will be like a big sarpanch and they'll come and bish up 10 guys and then they'll sing a song in the field and all that. Year and a half later, the movie came to Rajkot in a Galaxy Cinema, Manthan. And many of people went to see it because that was like a big news, and none of the Indian movies ever came to shoot in Kathiawad. So, and when I go to see Manthan, I'm sure there must have been many members of cast watching it. I wish I had a camera then. The beauty of Bharwad, the shepherd, the Rabari, who must have been extra in this movie, were all there. And when I watched it, I had never seen anything like that. This was my first approach to realistic cinema. And I was watching absolute reality unfolding on the screen. I had never seen those actors in my life. I had never heard about director. I knew nothing about filmmaking. But there was a strong sense of belonging, the relatability, and the image and the characters, and even the most sensual scene of Smita Patil character, washing her legs by the stream, by the well. This is all I lived as a kid, I saw that, we used to find an excuse to go to well to take a bath, and the women used to come there. So these details, which were brought out, and all the characters, the way they stand, and I said, look, this is all from my childhood. I have grown up like that, and I had never seen a movie which was close to my surrounding. I had always watched everything larger than life. I had always watched, hero basher, people singing around. So, and this is way before I'll discover what is even Hollywood, what is even parallel cinema, what is even world cinema, all that came to later into my life. So finally, when I ended up in Baroda Fine Arts as a teenager, I started discovering Shyamji's work, and I was like instantly attracted to um, Nasuddin Shah, even Govind Nilani's cinematography. And I started dreaming that someday I have to get them in my film, and that was the cinema. It's the cinema which made me dream. Everything else I saw entertained me. But just cinema started making me dream. And more I discovered, the more I became fascinated with it, and ultimately, once I had been through sort of world cinema and Italian New Wave and German Expressionism and French New Wave and whatever, when discovery of India, Bharat Ek Khoj came, that was such a huge revelation for me. That 5,000 years of history, the way, sir, you composed it in each episode. For me, it was a big learning. A lot of my education was coming from the West, but by watching Bharat Ek Khoj, in every episode, this was before internet, before Google, all that. And we didn't have such an access to, to this information. And then I had a close friend, who once brought me to your house. And I had not made any film. You didn't even know me, but Kadambari Puri knew Pia. And I came and you were so kind to me, offered tea, biscuits. And I was overwhelmed by all the library, which was around the books. And I was wondering, is just Shyamji has ever read all this book? And of course, you could see he must have read everything when you watch Bharat Ek Khoj or when you see his cinema. So the inspiration was there all along. And thank you so much for creating such amazing film. And as I don't have to say, I mean, so many amazing talent, whether Smita Patil, Shabana ji, Nasuddin Shah, and I had the pleasure of working with Nasir sir on one of my film, Valley of Flowers, and of course, that was the memory I cherish. And I don't know, I'm sure there are so many people who must have discovered this film. But I was in Cannes a few days ago, the Manthan screen there, and I'm so happy that it's coming out. And whoever is watching, I ask people to go and watch it on a big screen, this film. And you would know that I remember 7-8 years ago, a lot of people started talking about crowdfunding. Oh, we invented crowdfunding. No, Shyam Babu invented crowdfunding. If you want to see what true crowdfunding does to a filmmaker and how a great cinema comes to life, I think you should go and watch Manthan. It's a gift. Thank you so much. And I really look forward to seeing some great work from you.
Thank you so much, Pan. Thank you very much. Now I'd like to go to Lalit Mohan Joshi, who's been a long-term champion of Shyam's work in the UK, certainly, and also obviously in terms of archiving work as well about Shyam. So over to you, Lalit.
Thank you. I thank Cary, you and Sangeeta for inviting me to share this rare event to celebrate the life and works of Benegal Saab. With a great deal of love and deep regard, I hold him solely responsible for demolishing my initial ideas about cinema while I was still a young student at the University of Allahabad in the 1970s. Right from my school days at Mahanagar Boys High School, Lucknow, I had fed myself on a diet of hundreds of Mumbaiya films. Pulled by their irresistible attraction, I would regularly bunk classes and ride to the cinema hall with 3 of my classmates, believe it or not, on just one ramshackle bike. One of our trio would sit on the front bar, which we called Danda. A second friend would pedal the cycle, while the third would plonk himself on the seat or carrier at the back. Those were the days when I loved dialogue delivery of Devanand and Rajkumar. I would observe them again and again and learn the lines by heart. I would gain such mastery that I would reproduce these dialogues before friends with near perfection including almost every inflection of their real voices and styles of dialogue delivery. Then, out of the blue, one quiet afternoon, Shyam Benegal enters my life with his debut film Ankur in the Palace Theatre of Allahabad. My cozy, comfortable zone is shaken. My disturbed state of mind makes me watch the film thrice for the last scene, where a delirious and distraught Lakshmi, Shabana, hurls abuses on Surya. I feel enthused to write a letter to Shyam Benegal, saying that I want to join him. My friends think I'm crazy to expect an answer from Shyam Benegal. But within a week, I receive a white envelope, my address typed on it. I instantly knew it's from Shyam Benegal, as the address of all letters in those days addressed to me were handwritten with pen and ink. Upon cutting the envelope open, I find a very short communication from Benegal. It says he is touched by my letter and that I can meet him whenever I come to Bombay. I must have read that letter several times a day for days, but could not make avail of what seemed like an open invitation until 1981. Within a year of Benegal Saab's debut film came his second film, Nishant. It stunned me. The torture and revulsion felt by viewers over the brutal rape of Sushila was unprecedented. It was unique in successfully conveying the brutality of rape without even showing the act of rape, but by focusing on its torturous aftermath. I vividly recall the gruesome top angle shot of Shabana lying on the floor. I believe that Benegal alone could have visualized it. Although I love his recently restored Manthan, produced by 500,000 farmers of Gujarat, my favorite still remains Nishant. I find it very, very tense and very, very thrilling. I finally managed to meet Benegal Saab only in 1981. By this time, he had already made Bhumika, Junoon and Kalyug. He asked me to wait at least 6 months before an opportunity for me to assist him might arise. Benegal Saab's response meant he hadn't closed the door on me, but when I might get entry was shrouded in uncertainty. So along with my government job at Lucknow, I started writing on new cinema for newspapers. A few years later in 1988, destiny brought me to London to join BBC Hindi service as a broadcast journalist. But my relationship with Benegal Saab kept growing. It became warmer and deeper as he became my guide and mentor. It helped me evolve as a broadcaster, writer, and a documentary filmmaker. I produced a 19-part series on the history of Indian cinema for BBC World Service in 1990 with major input from Benegal Saab. I shared and bothered him for every new idea that I toyed with or that came to my mind. I think he has tremendous patience and a huge capacity to help. I remember how happy he was when I succeeded in organizing a tribute for him way back in 1995 at the Birmingham International Film Festival. He came on board when I set up South Asian Cinema Foundation in the year 2000 and wrote for every issue of my South Asian Cinema Journal. He was one of the writers of my much acclaimed book, Bollywood, Popular Indian Cinema. He wrote foreword of several books, including one on Adur Gopalkrishnan. I am indebted to both Shyam Benegal and Govinda Elani ji for their invaluable contribution to my feature-length documentary on partition films. I recall an anecdote ringing Benegal Saab for approving Partition Continues as the title of my documentary on partition films. He sounded very unhappy and said, "Lalit, by this title, you will negate your work and support the idea and agenda of Pakistan. I am on a shoot. Call me in 2 hours. I will suggest you a few titles." He called me himself in less than 2 hours and said, "Lalit, choose between these two titles, Transcending Partition or Beyond Partition." I gratefully chose Beyond Partition. For me, he remains much more than a filmmaker. He is a compassionate human being who cares for you and all those around him. What I love about Benegal cinema is the feel of periodicity. His cinema is not about cloud cuckoo land. Each of his films transports you to a specific realm of time and place. There's so much behind the scenes. You've got to closely watch his classics again, like Bhumika or Trikal, to unravel the subtext. I see Benegal Saab through myself. He has never said no to me for any request that I have made to him. I also see him as a filmmaker whose films have changed and redefined our cinema. As a human being, his intimacy and rapport with different people is a different story on different levels that has motivated and inspired each of us. I think that's how he connects with people, and that's how people connect with him. As a creator, he is a gifted and focused, like a Brahma or a Bharat Muni. I recently gave a lecture on Natya Shastra, who has created Natya Shastra. So Benegal has created a Natya Shastra of his own for a new kind of film. Even during my last visit to Mumbai 3 months back, he agreed to my shooting a long interview with him for a new documentary. It gave me a feeling of guilt that I was training him just a day after undergoing dialysis. But the spark and the love in his eyes took my guilt away. And he said, Lalit, before you go back, drop in one day for lunch at Kusum. Shyam Benegal remains unchanged in his curiosity and spirit to explore the world of human beings around him. I thank you, Benegal Saab, for all that you have given me. Thank you. And thank you, Cary and Sangeeta.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And thanks, Shyam, for staying alongside us for this long talk. You're doing wonderfully well. Thank you so much for that. Okay, I'm going to pass you back to Sangeeta now.
Thank you, Lalit, Hansal, Pan. You just heard from other filmmakers and scholars about their relationship with Shyam Babu and his work. We're going to bring back some more of his collaborators. But before that, I'd like to invite Nandita Puri to come and speak. Nandita is Om Puri's wife. Apart from being very, very close friends, Om was so much part of Shyam Babu's group of actors, his stable of actors, and the relationship that he shared with Shyam Babu was very special. So I'd just like to invite Nandita to come and speak briefly about that relationship where Shyam Babu was called Om's encyclopedia. In fact, a lot of people will constantly say this. Oh, you don't know something? Call Shyam Babu. He'll tell you. He has the answers. So that's just amazing that we still have people like Shyam Babu amongst us to be a sort of ready-made reservoir of knowledge and answers to things.
I remember meeting Shyam Babu first when I got married, and I was I'd come to Bombay, and I remember Shyam Babu, the great Shyam Benegal, whose films we had watched, actually cooked a beautiful, a mean raan for us. And Shyam Babu at home, you cooked, you made the raan yourself, you served us. I was so touched. And ever since, Shyam Babu has been a part of our lives, a part of our family. And in fact, when Om passed on, the Om Puri Foundation, Shyam Babu has been one of our founder members, a founder trustee, a founder patron. And he's been advising us throughout. For Om, Shyam Babu was everything. As Sangeeta let it out, that he was, we called him encyclopedia. And if we had to go somewhere, if we went to a new city in any part of the world, we called him, the weather, what clothes to carry, everything. I remember once, Ishan, my son, was very small. He was around 3 or 4, and we were wondering, we have to go to Prague, and what is the, what clothes do we carry? And suddenly Ishan said, encyclopedia ko phone karo, Shyam Benegal. So, even the 4-year-old knew that Shyam Benegal was the encyclopedia. And then Om's journey, apart from being a fine actor, journey into, being a good actor, and also a fine, genteel person, also came a lot from Shyam Babu. Because Shyam Babu, you were the first to introduce him to fish, because he had never had fish before in Amber restaurant in Calcutta. And then Om was a hardcore rum and coke drinker. And I think every time Om used to go abroad and would ask Shyam Babu, can I get you this? So Shyam Babu, okay, get me this particular single malt. So every time Om bought 2 of them. If it was Lafroy, he bought 2. He said, एक तो Shyam Babu के लिए and one for me, because I need to try that out. Because, if Shyam Babu is having LIFFs, we must. Then after a few years, one day Shyam Babu said, get Lagavulin. And Om got Lagavulin. And he said, oh my God, this is fabulous. So again, it was Shyam Babu's instruction. So from Old Monk to Lagavulin, Om's journey has also been, Shyam Babu has been responsible. He remembers Shyam Babu fondly, especially in Bharat Ek Coach, where he was not only the Sutradhar, he played literally several characters from Aurangzeb to everything, and Ashoka, and it was and Yatra and Susban, where he actually wove. He stayed in the village and he learned from the master weaver, and he wove cloth, and he wove a shirt for Shyam Babu and a shirt for Neera, and I think a dupatta for Shabana. So all that is there, and all that is because of Shyam Benegal, and that's what we've heard stories about Shyam Babu. But as far as I remember, for me, it's been not only Shyam Babu the filmmaker, it was Shyam Babu the great human being. If we were stuck for anything, we'd always call up Shyam Babu. Shyam Babu can explain, and he'd go deeply into that. He'd explain everything around, and he was never boastful. That, oh, look, so-and-so called me, Om calls me, or so-and-so calls me. He was always kind. And I think that is what makes Shyam Benegal. The empathy he has for, everyone, the love and the genuineness. He has never been boastful. And I remember Om used to always, times when I had wide range of interests. He would say, your range is wide, but mine may be limited to films and theatre, but it is deep. I would like to say, Shyam Babu is not just wide, he's also deep in everything. So he's deeply wide. And that is a great and rare combination combined with a great human being. Shyam Babu, we love you.
Thank you, Nandita. Can we bring in Atul Tiwari? Atul is a writer and actor whom a lot of you have seen in various even mainstream films. But Atul has been working so closely with Shyam Babu. And thank you, Atul, for helping me bring the other collaborators in. So it's through you that we've got Arif and Shubhu, and we've got Shantanu. We were hoping to get Sachin Khedekar as well, but he's shooting.
Yeah,
so
he got caught in his shoot and could not get free by 2 o'clock as he had planned. So sorry for that. And thank you, Sangeeta, and congratulations, Cary, for such a lovely lineup today. And all the people that I look up to are there today. And I started as a cub, a screenplay writer with Shyam Babu some 35 years ago or more during the Discovery of India days, where Shamaji was the chief writer. And he gave me a chance without even knowing me, who I was or what I was, because I hadn't done too much work before that. But then he trusted me, and that trust gives you so much of responsibility, and that makes you from a cub writer to a man. Until today, he has been my mentor, my guru, my friend, philosopher, guide, and that has been a wonderful journey. And I have worked with many other directors also, Sangeeta. And I have known many other directors, but as everybody has been saying about his encyclopedic knowledge, so I have not met anybody more informed, more knowledgeable, and wise as Mr. Benegal. There are some people who might be knowing few more things, but being wise is an important thing in which he has been, and that's why he has been such a wonderful social historian of our country, a historian of a country, the biographer of our country, par excellence, and nobody can touch him. That's why such a wide range of subjects that he has dealt with, but always with compassion towards the people who need the compassion most. And then, as Shabanaji said, and others have also said, that I always hear that Bombay has 2 gateways. One is the gateway of India, from where King George V was supposed to come in, etc., etc. Then there is another gateway, which is Shyam Benegal. And through this gateway, so much talent has come into the film industry of Bombay and India. So many actors, I don't have to name them. Many of them are taking part today in this wonderful event. So many technicians. As he was saying about the first film, a man like Mr. Nihlani, Govind Nihlani ji, and so many others whose first work it was. So he has been the other gateway to India and Indian film industry. One kind of adage is very popular these days in India, where we say that minimum government leads to the maximum governance. In Shyam Babu's way of working, I have always seen that he is a man with minimum directing and with the maximum direction that he comes to him, the way he shows us way. So he doesn't interfere too much with the actors. He's not a kind of a helicopter mom who is sitting on your head all the time, or hovering over a writer or hovering over the other technicians. He just gives you some directions and then trusts you. And that trust makes a technician or an actor bring out the best in him. And that's why, I mean, such things of epic proportion, Discovery of India, whom one has been discussed here, could not have been made, bringing the whole Indian history. Beena, Paul was talking about it. Or the Samvidhan, another series with which Shamaji and myself and others, we got to work with Shyam Babu, which how Indian Constitution, which is the longest written constitution in the world, got to be made. So many of other kind of things which are so monumental in proportion. Well, since we have less time and we all have to kind of stop, but one thing I was missing is that Shyam Babu has made, of course, a film in Bengali, a film in Telugu, a film in Punjabi, which is called Jange Azadi, and runs especially as a special purpose film in a museum in Punjab. So he has worked with other languages as well. But Hindi has been his mainstay, the language in which he has worked the most. And to kind of encapsulate his journey, I have written a poem in Hindi, small short poem, which I would like to read before ending my participation with you. तो एक हिंदी में चीज पढ़ रहा हूं मैं, माफ कीजिएगा आप लोग, लेकिन हिंदी में जब आप श्याम बाबू की फिल्में भी देखते हैं तो हिंदी भी आपको थोड़ी सी सुनने में कोई एतराज नहीं होगा, आई एम श्योर. श्याम बाबू इज डेडिकेटेड टू यू. अंकुर एक रोपा तुमने और कर डाला निशांत. अंकुर एक रोपा तुमने और कर डाला निशांत. मंथन की बांधी भूमिका कर अनुग्रहम संभ्रांत. एक जुनून से कलयुग तक आरोहण तुमने खूब चुना. मंडी सजाई देखा त्रिकाल, सुषमन का अंतरनाद सुना. सूरज का सातवां घोड़ा ले मम्मो ने सरहद पार करी. सूरज का सातवां घोड़ा ले मम्मो ने सरहद पार करी. मेकिंग ऑफ महात्मा देख खिले सरदारी बेगम समर और हरी भरी. जुबेदा में लेके आए तुम एक रॉयल राजसी जादू जहान. जुबेदा में लेके आए तुम एक रॉयल राजसी जादू जहान. और तुरंत फिर कह डाली नेताजी बोस एक गुमनाम दास्तान. वेलकम टू सज्जनपुर ने जोड़ा इस लंबी रेल में न्यू डब्बा. वेलकम टू सज्जनपुर ने जोड़ा इस लंबी रेल में न्यू डब्बा. अब और कहें क्या तुमसे हम, वेल डन अब्बा, वेल डन अब्बा. मुजीब द मेकिंग ऑफ अ नेशन ने एक नया इतिहास बना डाला. मुजीब द मेकिंग ऑफ अ नेशन ने एक नया इतिहास बना डाला. 90 सालों के नौजवान ने बांग्लादेश हिला डाला. अब भी मुश्किल है इनका रुकना, तूफान भी कहीं थमते हैं. अब भी मुश्किल है इनका रुकना, तूफान भी कहीं थमते हैं. मन से साधु तबीयत से राजा, ऐसे लोग अब कहां बनते हैं. Thank you, Shyam Babu, for being in my life.
Oh, that was lovely, Atul. Lovely. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you, Sangeeta. Thank you, Cary.
Can we get Shantanu and Arifin Chibu?
I think the best gift currently I can give Mr. Benegal is give him a quick break and make it short so that he can chill. Just want to say one thing that being a Bengali middle class Boy, my parents were deeply disappointed when I joined films. And I did quite a few films before that, and they were successful. But I never got a call from my mother. The first time she called me was that I heard you're doing a Shyam Benegal film. I said yes, and she just it was on a video. She said excellent. So immediately I know I've been accepted in my Bengali household because I was doing a Shyam Benegal film. So that is the contribution that Mr. Benegal has done in my life. He has made my profession as a music composer respectable in my family, and I'm deeply indebted to him. A lot of people have said a lot of things. I just want to say what defines working with Mr. Benegal for me is that most people work with their HODs, head of the departments, assuming that the person doesn't know anything, that your average intelligence is pretty bad. And that's why you get a feeling that they want to change your intelligence by starting from A for apple, B for boy, C for cat. Mr. Benegal is a rarity who actually assumes that you're supremely intelligent, you are very well read, you're very informed, and then he just starts it from there. For example, in Mujib, for example, he just said, I'm sure you've heard, this is how it started. You've heard stories of the partition from your father. You're from Bangladesh, so I'm sure you know who Mujib is. I have lots of books. If you want to read anything more, you can. But that's a great way to start, and I think I'm forever indebted to Mr. Benegal for giving me an opportunity in Mujib, because it was absolutely a phenomenal journey on this film, working with folk music, working with character or personality. And you also have to understand that Mr. Benegal has worked with the greats when it comes to music, to kind of fill in those shoes and yet be my own was an incredible challenge, working with the Mr. Shyam Benegal. But the incredible part is when I hear these kind of webinars and I realize, oh my, this man is such an incredible, great person. When I work with him, I feel that he's my friend. Similar age, we're just pals, talking about so many things, not just music, life, characters, stories, incidents, anecdotes, and from all that, somewhere music emerges. And I think that is the best experience of working on a Shyam Benegal film. Thank you so much, Mr. Benegal, for the great opportunity for giving music. Thank you so much.
Ila, are you here? Ila Arun?
Very much here.
Ah, there you are.
Shyama. No. Yeah. Thank you very much, Sangeeta. Thank you, Cary. This is the long time I'm obliged to all of you. I call him Shyam Mam because his niece, Kalpana Lazmi, used to call Shyam Mam. And he's my godfather. I always maintain whatever he says, wherever he says, this much role, that much role, I'm always there because he has taught me. He introduced me to Mandi. Hana Shyam. So everything I owe to him. And he is, I must tell you, welcome to Sajjanpur. My role was only, I think, 1.5 days role. But Shyam is a director who gives full chances to a capability of an actor. So he likes the improvisations, he trusts the actor, and that's how Welcome to Sajjanpur has become landmark in my life. And may it be Discovery of India or Antarnath or Yatra or Sushman or for that matter Trikal. If Shyam had given me a small role, Shyam realized my other capabilities. Sometimes he gave me chance to do the lyrics. So I wrote the lyrics for Trikal. In Sushman, he suddenly asked me, I was an actor. Are you there? Are you all there?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, sorry. So in Sushman, I was playing Anu's wife, and suddenly Shyam needed one Kabir's bhajan, and Vanraj Bhatia was the music director, and suddenly he said, "Ila, can you compose it?" So he trusts his actors with, the other abilities what they have. So I composed the song and I sang then and there. So sometimes I was writing lyrics for him. In documentaries like the soya bean and all, he introduced me how to write song for the whole documentary. So I have done a long journey with Shyam Benegal, and I'm dumbfounded. Sangeeta, what all you people have done is a coincidence. There is a joke in our life. Shyam always used to call me when the sun was setting. That time it used to be on films. Ila, Ila, come, 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 sun is going, sun is going. No time. Now you're short. So this is what happened to me, that I am the last, and there is no time. But I want to say gratitude, love, everything to Shyam Benegal. This year I'm coming with my book, and the book is less about me, more about my Shyam Babu. So Shyam, lots of love. I'm coming to office. I don't want anybody there. I just want to be with you, to talk to you, and have a good chat with you. Thank you, Sangeeta. Thank you, Cary. Really, I'm so.
You have to sing for us.
I'll do that. You know what? I'm choked. It started on a note. Because of Shyam, I met all the family of Shyam Benegal family. It started with Shabana, then I saw Shama Appa, then I saw Atul, then I saw Rajit, and ditto, ditto, ditto. I'm choked. I have cried almost so many times while I was watching it on Facebook, that everything is gone. I'm here. I'm in a different zone. But Shyam, I will sing Kabir, this song which he asked me impromptu to sing, and became a good song of Sushman. That was, now please don't mind my throat. चरखा चले सूरत बिरहन का, चरखा चले रे, काया नगरी बनी अति सुंदर, महल बनाचे तन का उमरी, महल बनाचे तन का, महीन सूत बिरहन है काते, महीन सूत बिरहन है काते, माझा प्रेम भगत का उमरी, चरखा चले सुंदर का उमरी, चरखा चले बिरहन. Thank you, Shyam. Thank you, Sangeeta. Thank you, Cary. And you have given me a lot, I'm sure. Love.
I should just say a few things just quickly about Shyam's sense of humor as well, because obviously films like Welcome to Sajjanpur is one of the kind of all-time great favorites of a lot of people in terms of a great comedy film. And my comic moment with Shyam, or possibly a comic moment, and an exemplification of his great sense of compassion was, for example, when I first met Shyam, I just literally arrived from London, and as a young film programmer, and I was straight into the screening of the making of the Mahatma, and I was introduced to this great filmmaker sitting next to me. Literally came in, and he was sitting next to me, and he said hello, and the film just started. Suddenly I found myself waking up on the shoulder of Shyam Benegal, and that was my first experience of him. And he said, "Did you enjoy my film?" in a kind of witty way. And I was obviously both terrified at that moment, but also it was pretty cool to wake up on the shoulder of Shyam Benegal. And we became friends after that. And his droll sense of humor and his, as I said, his kind of compassion carried through. So we were friends, have been friends for many years as a result.
I would like to interrupt here because we are trying to bring him through
a very crude technology.
All right, so I'm so sorry for all this technical glitches, but I just want to say that I have worked with few directors and few projects as well, but the thing that mostly affected me during the shoot, and that I still remember, that more than a director, how Benegal sir was so human and so kind, and the way he makes you feel so comfortable, and all this, like, it was a very long journey, but I didn't feel for once I was not shaky or anything. Every time I used to face something, it was him that used to sort of poof all the the confusions and the dilemmas and everything. So I don't know if you can see me right now, but I still have. There was a thing that we used to do on set. Every time I used to give a good shot or whatever he thinks good, then I used to crack this joke that, sir, some money and all this. And we decided on 5 rupees every shot. I don't know if you can see this. I carried this in my wallet. This is my Oscar, and this is my everything. I still have this, and this is my Ashirwad and everything. So I'm so grateful to you. The thing that I learned from you is acting, that's a profession, and we get along and we go with this. But how to become a good human being, how to become open to life and to live life, the moments and everything, despite all this chaos going on, I think. And the human part of Benegal sir, that really touched me, and I'm forever grateful to sir to give me this opportunity that I also can say till my last breath that I worked with you. And I want to ask sir, when I'm going to start the next schedule? Like Rajinder sir said that he's ready to be the tree on the set, and I'm ready to be anything. Hawa on the set, sir. Whenever you want me in anything. So thank you so much, and I wish you all the luck for next 1,000 years. And thank you so much. I don't have much to say. Thank you so much, sir, for giving me all the love. And that's 60 rupees. Thank you very much. I love you.
Thank you, Shabu. Thank you. I'm so glad we got to hear him at the end. Thank you very much. Thanks.
Well, I'm absolutely flattered, really, because I didn't quite expect that there would be people would be talking about me like this, because I'm not accustomed to this. But of course, it's very flattering, and I'm absolutely delighted. But beyond that, it's much more than that, I think. But it's the wonderful part of it, of course, is the fact that so many people decided that they were going to talk about me and my work, and also their experiences with us as a group of people who work together over a long period of time. I think that is that to me is the greatest takeaway, which is the fact that this kind of collective experience of having worked together over so many years is something that I cherish, really, because I think nothing can replace that. Yeah. Because in terms of experience, that is something that you really value, because human beings are involved in all this, and how much that we all work together and went in the same direction, which I think is something that I personally treasure and value, because when you make a film, that's what you're doing. You're all working towards a single goal, and everything that you come together, you put together, it's ultimately it ends up in a film or something, but it ends up with something that you value.
Shyam Babu, that brings us to the end of a marathon 2-hour session, and we've had lots of people here whom we wanted, some people who we could still have another second part to this session. But just two things to say before we sign off from here. I'm so pleased, Cary, that we've been able to do this with Shyam Babu. We wish you good health. We wish that you can come to office every day the way we've seen you through our lives. Right there, whether a film is on or not, Shyam Babu is in his office at a certain time, and the discipline with which you've practiced your life. And all these wonderful films. Today, you know, when Manthan is so much back in circuit and we showed Ankur on the big screen, it's we have people from Shyam Babu's office here.
We wanted to hug him. We wanted to hug him on your behalf.
Thank you, everybody, for all the support.
Mr. Kayal Minani is here, his oldest assistant and associate, and now his co-director, and Satish Sharma is here, and Anjum, his director's assistant through this latest film.
Thank you.
And of course.
Thank you for being there.
I should also thank Sangeeta and Baithak UK for pulling this all together, because it's a huge task and relatively smoothly, because as I said, it's a huge task to pull together with so many different people from all over the world. So thank you so much, Sangeeta. And we look forward to obviously putting this film, this reel, both on YouTube, and hopefully we'll put it on the BFI player as well. That's our aim, so we can keep it and enjoy it in the future.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you for your time, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.